Welcome back to Shenanigans with Schup&Shaoo. I'm your host, Schup, aka Mr. Shenanigans. I'm here with Mr. Shaul, who I don't believe has a nickname yet. Have you came up with a nickname quite yet?
Absolutely not. I have no nickname, no time soon planned either, but we'll see. Maybe I can earn one.
All right, so nicknameless and I are going to go over the next division in the AFC, and that is going to be the AFC South. Some of the AFC South last year, the Jaguars were 4-8 and just looked to be irrelevant. So I purchased tickets to Week 18 versus the Titans because they were cheap tickets. Well, lo and behold, Jaguars go on a 4-game winning streak, and I have Week 18 tickets at a win and get in game. So that was
Wow.
pretty cool. But yeah, so the Jaguars ended up getting a playoff win in, and Trevor Lawrence turned around expectations for him for a rookie year. So let's lead in with the Jacksonville Jaguars. What are your expectations for Trevor Lawrence and company this year?
You got to think they're going to get better. Another year under Doug Peterson, another year for, the man Trevor Lawrence and that hair that he's got going. Calvin Ridley coming in. I mean, they I don't know. I just think, I can't imagine that they're going to take a step back. I think that they really, at the end of the year, got their shit together. Sometimes the game just, when you watch it, I don't play it. So, but when you watch it, you feel like all the things click and you always hear the commentators like things are just clicking or the game is slowing down. And I think for Trevor Lawrence, I was really shocked in the beginning just how poor he would play. He would just miss people, and I didn't know what was wrong. And I give a ton of credit to Doug Peterson because I think he's a great coach and I think they're a great team and he's a quarterback guru. And I think he's doing Lawrence a world of love, you know, working with him.
Lawrence and offense were absolutely explosive last year. And with the addition of Calvin Ridley, it's only going to get even more fun to watch. Now, the problem with the Jaguars, in my opinion, and I don't think it's going to be a problem that's going to cost them the division because of how good the offense is, but the defense. The defense struggled last year, but yet they didn't address that defense at all in free agency. Um, Not even in the draft either. They went tight end running back in rounds 2 and 3, even though they're already pretty loaded on offense. Do you think that the Jaguars defense is the downfall, or are you expecting differently than I am?
I mean, if you have to think that they're gonna get better. I mean, they were ranked like the 22nd overall and like 25th in sacks. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like, yes, of course, that is their weakness. I mean, the whole AFC South is loaded offensively. But and nobody's really that great at defense, even the Titans anymore. But you have to think Walker, the number one overall pick last year, is going to take a step up. Josh Allen and a fifth-year option is going to take a step up. Um, what is it? Clavanian Chasen from LSU. I mean, he is a chicken with his head cut off, running all over the place. I mean, I think the
Out
game's going to
about him.
slow down for him, and I think that in this league they actually have the potential of making the biggest jump defensively. I think the Titans have a good defensive scheme, but they run the ball a lot. They give the ball up a lot on third downs. The Colts, have their own things. I mean, a lot of the thing is that a good offense helps your defense. And I believe the Jags also have a good running game, a good passing game, good tight ends, game clock awareness, Doug Peterson. So I don't think they have to take a huge step up to make that jump to 10 wins or 11 wins. And definitely I don't think they need to make a huge jump to win the division again.
Yeah, and you know what? The Jaguars, even if their defense does hold them back a little bit, one thing we do know is that they seem to be runaway favorites in this division right now. So we got the Titans, who also lost players this offseason, including three starting offensive linemen. Derrick Henry's getting a year older. Tannehill is getting a year older. Their receiver room still isn't that great. Uh, are you buying or selling the Titans this year?
I mean, I'm selling. I don't think there's really another team in this division that's gonna make any waves. Titans are scary because of Derrick Henry, and we all watch him rumble and tumble down the field and make great, highlights. But the thing is you can stack up first downs in the middle of the field. You got to make some explosive plays, and the loss of Robert Woods, the defense is a huge, huge, big question to me. And I just think that they did nothing in the draft. I just don't see any reason why they're going to get to the playoffs again. And I think they could definitely miss for a second year. I don't love their head coach, keeping that locker room together. I think, Tannehill and Henry, besides getting a year older, are also on the end of their contracts. And I just don't see them making that turn of like going all out and like earning a new contract. I feel like they're actually gonna do the opposite that we see sometimes where you're like, man, this player kind of was out last year and they should have moved on already. And I just feel like this whole from head coach to quarterback to running back is just ready to like rebuild and blow up this team. And they're just not that exciting anymore.
Yeah, I would definitely classify Titans as boring. Let's go with something more exciting. So, again, we talked about not a lot of hope for the other teams in the division, but maybe a little more excitement on the Colts and the Texans side. So, three of the top five rookies in this year's NFL draft are in this division: Mr. CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, and Anthony Richardson. But which of these three are you most excited for coming into the season?
I mean, I gotta say, I like Richardson. I know you're a CJ Stroud guy, being an OSU kid, but I mean, I think Richardson, being a Ravens fan, he's got some legs. He's got a good deep ball, and I love Steichen, the coach from Philly, the Norv Turner disciple, the guy who's worked for Philip Rivers, Herbert, Hertz. I mean, he's got a well-rounded team. They have a decent defense, nothing great. But I think again, offense rules this division, and with wide receivers like Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, rookie Josh Downs from UNC. I mean, I just think that they have a chance to just do something. I think Jonathan Taylor's got a chip on his shoulder. If I was picking right now, Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor, I'd go Taylor all day and twice on Sunday. And so I think Richardson's got a lot of help with that team, with that coaching staff from top to bottom. I think that it's a little bit harder this first year to think that they're going to challenge for the Jags for the division, championship, but I don't know. I think they could sneak either into the playoffs or they could just mess with some teams here and have some fun.
Yeah, well, you mentioned CJ Stroud, my OSU guy. Let me tell you why he's not the rookie I'm most excited for. Because at Ohio State, CJ Stroud had the privilege of throwing to Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, Marvin Harrison, all guys who are either already first round receivers or future first round receivers. Now, he's on NFL receivers, of course, but you could argue that those four guys I mentioned are all better receivers than the Texans' number one guy, which at this point is Robert Woods. So, as much as I love Stroud and his future, not until the Texans upgrade their pass catchers and get Stroud a little more experience. So I am most excited for Richardson, and there's really one reason why, because everyone's looking for that next stud in fantasy football. Anthony Richardson, I don't think he's going to have a good throwing year. I think he's going to make a lot of mistakes, and he might be limited, not like Malik Willis limited, but he they're probably going to ground and pound a lot with Taylor. But Richardson has Justin Fields like running ability, super athletic, and he could pick up those extra yards in those garbage time games. So that's what I'm most excited about. Will Anderson, I mean, I think my feeling on Will Anderson is he could have a good career. Like I never really feel like Hall of Fame potential, elite potential, like crazy prospect. I think he's just going to be a good pass rusher. So not that exciting there either.
And your first year for pass rusher is hard, man. It's not like you're coming in, all those offensive linemen know all the tricks. I mean, you got to really refine your game as a sack daddy, you know? And I mean, I think he's good. And but I think he played bully ball in college. You know, he was able to use his size. And I don't think he like wowed me with his stats going after the quarterback. I mean, he got hits behind the line of scrimmage. He got pressures. He got a lot of things, but is he really going to be doing, the NFL, you need speed, you need spin move, you need hammer move, you need so many moves down there in the trenches. And I think it takes some time. And I think, those guys still have a lot to learn to get more tricky to get that. I mean, we saw Tavian Walker for Jacksonville didn't have a great year. He was number one overall pick last year. I mean, those guys you see that are really going to make a huge difference sack wise is I feel like is in year 2 or 3, and I just don't see him there. But again, I think that Richardson has the legs to do it. And I think he's got a really good rookie in Josh Downs. I think again, this coach Steichen, he made Hurts look good in year 2 or 3. And like I said, I don't think it's going to be year 1 here with Richardson, but I definitely can. I have very little doubt that you're going to see progression each year. I remember those North Turner teams with quarterbacks and what he did. I mean, he was a quarterback guru. I mean, he made Gus Frerotte look like a genius on the Redskins, you know? So I just think that, and they don't have a lot of pressure on him. I don't think he's got a lot of, I don't think Richardson, as much as he was a surprise in the draft, the Colts have no primetime games right now. I mean, they can always be flexed in. They haven't won a week 1 game since 2013. And I see, more like a last year kind of Jags 4-8 type of start, and then maybe reeling off some games at the end and sneaking in. But we'll see. I think they're exciting though. I think the Colts hopefully can get their shit together. I mean, I like the Colts.
Any hope for on the other side, Will Levis? Any hope for him as with a future in the NFL?
If he plays this year, the Titans are like
He
looking to
can't be any
win
worse
4
than
games.
Malik Willis. Like Malik Willis, it was almost like it was like there was a Pee-wee kid on the field, and they
When he's
had
really,
no
really
emergency
big and you're
quarterback.
like, that kid should do something.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, he ran for a yard. Yeah. Oh,
That kid's so big, he should just plow over all those little peewee kids, and then he can't do anything because he's just a klutz and just doesn't have his head screwed on. I mean, when you watched him play, you were wondering like, what is he looking at? Is he looking at his feet? Is he looking at the stands? Because I don't know, he wasn't on the field in my opinion. When I saw him play, I just was like, I don't know what everybody was thinking. I thought he was a third, fourth round pick. I remember the Redskins were talking about picking him in the first round, and I was just laughing and it was just silly.
yeah.
But I mean, Levis, I think I didn't watch many Kentucky games. I saw highlights. I see, the guy. What's the guy from the Saints backup? I can't remember his name right
Team
now.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I see him like that level in like 2 or 3 years. I don't even see he's good as Hill today. I think he's 2 or 3 years away from being that good. And I don't think you can switch positions. I don't think he's going to be a running back, but I just,
No, Will Levis.
yeah.
That's Derrick Henry's replacement long term.
I don't know what they thinking with him. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an ass. Um, he's got to get a new girlfriend. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and better eating habits. So we went over the the outlooks on the teams, but let's take a look at the schedule real quick. Obviously Jaguars have that first place schedule, so they're gonna get a lot of quality opponents on their schedule. Is Jaguars non-conference game the game that you're most looking forward to, or would it be another game?
I like their two primetime matchups versus Cincy and Baltimore, to be honest with you. I think those are going to be some big games. I worry about the Kansas City game early. I know they lost to them twice last year. I think that's a big monkey on their back that they're not even close to getting over that hump. And then the two games in London really scare me. I mean, my hesitation to like have the Jags. I mean, granted, I don't think they're winning more than a playoff game or two. Um, it's going to be hard for them really to get. I think they're going to be, a 9 or 10 win team. Those two games in London are going to be tough. Even though it's Atlanta, it's London. Buffalo is crazy, but it's still a toss up. London's a toss up to me. So I mean, those are like four potential losses, like right away when I look at this. And I just think that, them coming in as a wild, as one of the lower seeds in the playoffs, I just think it's going to be too hard for them to do anything. But, you know,
Yeah, the I don't have much out hope because whatever fifth seed that the Jaguars do run into is gonna have an explosive offense, and I don't know how the Jaguars are gonna buckle down unless they go all third, fourth quarter comeback offense again. Um, I it's too easy for me to pick a Jaguars non-conference game as the game I'm most looking forward to. I'm gonna go out of the box here. I'm looking at the Houston Texans on the road, coming off a bye. It's the Carolina Panthers. CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young. And we're pretty damn sure that we're going to see both quarterbacks, barring injury, going against each other. I'm looking forward to that duel because then we can start all the hype about who really should have been number one. Uh, we'll see if Bryce Young can see over the offensive lineman. But that'll be a fun game to watch. That could be a little bragging rights
I
for
think,
whoever's
I think it'll
number
be
one on the table.
fun. I think it'll be fun because they're both going to be two teams that are struggling and they're not the best on at anything. And but it could also be a really sloppy game. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of quarterbacks going against each other because they line up on the same side of the ball, so it's hard to compare. Um, Carolina's is in just a disarray, and I think the Texans are pretty close to the same, but I feel like the Texans have a lot of young potential. I mean, I still like the Texans. Tank Dell in the third round, that guy had 109 receptions last year. I think that as much as I like, you know, Bryce Young, but I don't know. It's just I think they got a lot more holes in that team for Carolina. So
Yeah, well,
I think, if you want to look at a division game, I think it's the end of the season. I think Jacksonville, Tennessee, if Tennessee is actually there, I think the last game of the season that would be cool for me. If Tennessee was actually together and Tannehill got it together and he was the old yeoman of the league and Derrick Henry got it together and the Titans got, everything going and they come up for a big matchup at the end of the year. I mean, Jacksonville, Tennessee would be a fun to make it interesting to actually make it two juggernauts if they're both, healthy, doing good, and everything goes right for both of them. But I think there's a lot of good games to play. That's what's fun about the NFL, bud.
yeah. Also, shout out Jaguars Bills in London. I'm expecting 38-35 for that one.
I don't know, man. I never watch the London games anymore because they're always these weird blowouts. There are always these weird games. I think somebody, one of the two is gonna in that game. I'm looking at that game like a 38-10 or a 38-9, something silly that doesn't even make sense one way or the other. And I have no clue who's gonna be 38 or who's gonna be 9. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe we'll see two butt fumbles in a game. Who knows? It's London, baby. So we touched on a couple. We touched on the top rookies. Are there any other rookies that you are excited to see this year or think might have a good year?
Um, I think the Jaguars Tank Bigsby could be. Think that who else is out there? I don't know. I don't think anybody's really shocking me for rookies, to be honest with you. Do you have anybody?
A guy who I like is Julius Brents from the Indianapolis Colts. Second round corner, 6'4". We saw last year Tariq Woolen take it in the fourth round for the Seahawks. At 6'4", come in and have a very, very good year. And Colts have Stephon Gilmore across from him. So it's going to take the pressure off him covering number one guys right away. I think he could step in and make some plays.
Yeah, no, I mean, buddy, if the Colts are well rounded, and I think that right there, if they get him playing at cornerback and they get some real good just holding people, this is like again, offense, quarterbacks, points, division. And if they can get some cornerbacks on the Colts, and that could make a huge difference locking down these guys, these wide receivers. And I'm not saying I'm picking the Colts going number two, but I did say I think they're more likely to sneak in at a wild card than the Titans. So, and that would be one big reason for it. That Brett's and Josh Downs.
Yeah. Well, the Colts might have a chance, but at the end of the day, with how loaded this AFC South is, I just think that those three teams at the bottom will be buried. Like, like
Yeah, I mean that I agree. Agreed.
just the other divisions are so strong. But luckily for the AFC South, something that might help them, they are playing the NFC South. And NFC South rivals them in poor play. So, they can get if they can go on a little division run, division on division crime and maybe perk up their wins a little bit.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a big Jags fan. I've been watching them since like the Mark Brunell days when they first came in. I think their running back ETN is great. I think he could be a Pro Bowler. I think Ridley could be a first time Pro Bowler. I think they have 20 of their 22 starters returning. I just and I'm a Trevor Lawrence groupie. That I just can't I mean, I've always liked him since college. I was hoping he would be better, and I felt bad for him all these years being down there in Jacksonville struggling. And now he's finally got Doug Peterson to save the day with his big cape coming in and giving him, all the confidence in the world. And I mean, we see all the potential now doing it. So it's really going to be fun to watch the Jags and see if they can keep up with the Kansas Cities of the leagues and the Cincinnati's of the league, and see what happens. They're going to have a lot of good games, and I think they're one more year away from actually not winning the Super Bowl, but a kind of Buffalo Bills where they're knocking at the door, and then just pound it down. I think they're 1 or 2 more years away from it, and they're going to be there.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to get through all those teams if they want to get there. You got the Burrows and Mahomes, the Allens of the world. Trevor Lawrence can easily enter that conversation. I mean, this is one of the most hyped prospects in NFL history, after all. And he's got all the playmakers on offense. He's got a Super Bowl winning head coach on his side. There's absolutely no reason that they can't go far in the playoffs. But at the same time, he doesn't have quite the experience yet that these other guys do. But he also has revenge on his side. I mean, Mahomes knocked him out last year. It was a close game.
Yeah, it was a fun game, man. That was a great game.
Yeah. And obviously that first playoff game, you know, what that showed me, and a couple of other games that season where the Jaguars had some crazy comebacks. Think of the Ravens game, the Cowboys game. Sorry, mention the Ravens game. I know that one hurts,
All right, it's all right.
but like he just he put on some prolific comebacks, and he could run those guys out wide deep, and he was able to show off his accuracy. It's they're a fun team. You can never count them out of a game. So even though the division will stink, it'll give us a chance to see what Trevor Lawrence can do in the big stage the second time around.
Yeah, I'd say the hardest thing for Trevor Lawrence is going to be his offensive line. They have Cam Robinson. They haven't announced with Cam Robinson, the left tackle, what his suspension is going to be, correct? I haven't seen that. And then,
No, not yet.
you
But they
know,
did draft Anton Harrison in the first round, so he could be used as a replacement in the meantime.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to step in as a rookie, but I mean, I just think that it's a question mark. And if there's going to be a leaky hole, and again, it's why I've said they're only going to win 9 or 10 games. I mean, I don't think they have the strongest game in the trenches on both sides of the ball, to be honest with you, both offensive, defensive lines. And so I still think they're a little bit ways away. But, this is the off season. We got to be optimistic, you know? And if there's one team in this division that you kind of can be the most optimistic about is definitely the Jaguars. They've had, like I said, most of the starters are returning, the Super Bowl winning coach, like you said. And I just think that, consistency for them. And if they got 11 wins and gotten to, maybe the third or, second seed, who knows? You never know. They control their destiny with a lot of these tiebreaker games. If they can win in this division and win some of these games against their division, and who knows?
I'm actually really excited for D'Amico Ryans and what he's able to do with this Houston Texans defense. He ran a very good defense in 49ers, and he was under some really good head coaching trees there as well. And now he gets dynamic pass rusher Will Anderson. They added Sheldon Rankins. Derek Singletary is going to his second year. And the offense should be better this year. I don't think it's possible for them to be worse than they were last year. But that'll mean the defense will be on the field less. I think I look at the Texans, and I'm not saying they're going to make playoffs or anything, but I think it would not be a surprise to me if they finished second in division. And
Yeah, I mean, I like their offensive coordinator too that Ryan brought from San Francisco. I think that if we learn anything over there, it's the short passing game, it's the exciting passing game, it's the yards after the catch type of plays, and they're getting some players back. They got the new free agent in Robert Woods, and they got that Mechie or whatever who had the ACL and leukemia scare.
yeah, he'll be back.
And and I do think that they do, like you said, have some offensive things. I mean, if they can get Stroud in that intermediate quick passing game that they had in San Francisco and get him, reading the game really, really well and get him coached up. Yeah, I mean, I think they have a good running back in Pierce. And I think that, like you said, D'Amico Ryan is I think he's a good coach. Do I think that he's, the next, I don't know who, I can't really compare to see who he's going to be against. And I don't want to, just because I don't know his defensive mindset coming in. And he's been talking about putting his culture and his brand on it. And I want to see it first from a defensive side of the ball. And maybe they'll be the defensive team of the year. Maybe he would coach them up as much as you talking offense and quarterbacks and everything. If any team could come in here and actually sneak in second place and make some noise, it's with the defense and stopping some people. And a lot of young guys on this team are, this is just a young team, and a lot of the players on this team is young, and a lot of times those young kids can come in and wreak some havoc on defense and just play, balls out willy nilly, run around and just knock some people out. And if they can do that and scare some of these teams and knock it down instead of being 35 points games and get them to hold them under 21. I mean, I think there's it can do a lot of damage in this division potentially um under Ryan for sure.
It's all up to the talent with the players, you know. There's there's some high draft picks on that defense now. You know, it's not like the old days where it was all scrubs, whoever they could find. So they're still young though. But yeah, excited for the Texans. Now, before we leave off, do we have any bold predictions for for the division this year from any player, any coach, anything?
I my bold prediction is Trevor Lawrence is a MVP candidate. He is in the top three for MVP candidates. I think Doug Peterson's going to go crazy. And my second bold prediction is D'Amico Ryan and that defense getting in the top 10 in defense. I think, like we were talking about, if they do something again, if there's going to be some sort of crazy thing for this division and somebody really standing out, I think that the just the Texans being a top 10 defense, they have so many draft picks from that Watson trade and so many young players. And if he can get them together on that side of the ball and have Stroud be a ball control kind of quarterback and make some of those plays and eat up the clock, I think just them, they don't have to win the division to be great. But if they can start making culture that he talked about of defense in Texas and be a top 10 defense, I definitely think they can. I know that's not a something to hang your hat on. You don't get any trophy for a top 10 defense, or you don't get any plaque on the wall, but I think it's a start of something, and I could be there.
Yeah. You know, I agree with that. Trevor Lawrence, this is what he was meant to do. He was meant to go far in this league. Um, as far as my bold prediction, well, I do like the Texans to finish a little higher this year. So I need a team that comes in last. And I really think the Tennessee Titans are going to fall down, down, down this year. Really and truly, they're a Derrick Henry injury away from it all collapsing. But even if he does stay healthy, his team can't block. I don't think one first round pick is going to solve all their issues. They can't block. Tannehill doesn't have weapons. And if Levis has to come in, yeah, he's way too raw for it to work. It'll probably end up hilariously in a disaster. And you know, the defense lost pieces and two exciting new coaches with different philosophies. I just think the Titans should have gone into rebuild mode this offseason. They made a mistake not getting value for Derrick Henry when they could have. I know he's a fan favorite, but he's probably the one running back in the league where teams could actually get benefit out of a guy like that. Um, and then yeah, where else is the talent? They collapsed last year, and I expect that momentum to head into next year. All right. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed our shenanigans one more time. Thank you for joining me, Adam. Next week we are going to go over the high-powered AFC West. Maybe not as hyped as last year, but there should be some good predictions in that one.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for that. I think that division's one of the best in the league, and they're only getting better, and I'm looking forward to it. Lots of fun.
Yes, hard to find talking points with the boring AFC South. So, on that note, thank you for tuning in. I'm Shoop,
I'm sure.
and come back for more shenanigans.